Hello, I'm Toycat, and when most people think about Minecraft 1.18, they probably think about the amazing new caves or the delightful new cliffs, and that's probably because it's called the Caves and Cliffs update. However, despite the fact that this update doesn't contain any new features beyond that, it does change a lot of existing features in ways that you probably need to know about, and that honestly can change your game in so many ways, from dungeons to drowns, from axolotls to everything in between. Today, I wanted to go through all of the minor changes in 1.18 that you probably didn't know about. And with that said, we're just going to jump straight into the first one right here. We won't even tell you that you can subscribe, and it's a great way to catch more of these videos about 1.18. But did you know that magma will generate slightly more often below the water now? This is a really cool feature if you like magma, but it means that boats are going to be more perilous on these seas. Make sure you watch out for those little bubble columns that can bring your boat down. Did you know that copper blocks can now be made into ingots with a Stonecutter? This kind of makes sense to me personally, but this is the first time you can do it. Whereas you can see, the block of copper can be turned into the cut copper block. It's absolutely delightful. And yeah, the way it converts is much more favorable than it was before. I love this. I think it's great. Also, something I think is great is that copper blocks will drop up to 5 raw copper instead of 2 to 3. However, the fortune cap is still 12. But as you can see, this means that when we mine this 1 copper ore block, instead of getting 2 to 3, we got 4. See, that could have been embarrassing if I ended up with fewer. But yeah, we now have 4 copper, which is wonderful if you ask me. And yeah, we're gonna use that 4 copper to make some of these copper ingots later. Speaking of things we're gonna use copper ingots for, did you know axolotls will only spawn in the water above clay in the lush caves now? Axolotls got significantly rarer after this update. It's one of those things I mentioned in my Let's Play on Monday that like, hey, make sure you take advantage of them early. Minecraft changes all the times, and a lot of those times it's making items more useful, easier to obtain, etc. Like clay is now a lot easier to obtain, but axolotls are not. This lone little axolotl, which I'm gonna free him, you know what? I know he doesn't want to be free, but you're coming out here and you're being my friend, pal. This axolotl right here is now my friend, and he will not despawn because that's how nice he is. Speaking of nice people, drowns are my favorite. I love when they spawn with the tridents and they throw them at you and they can 2-hit you if you're in hard difficulty. It's fair and it's great game design, and I love this mob. And if you think that's shit too, maybe you'll enjoy the fact that they can spawn in the water sources found in dripstone caves. That's right, they kind of want to give the dripstone caves a bit more of an identity, so giving it some scary mobs is one of those ways. I want to talk about the dripstone caves more in my Secrets of the Biomes video, which you can check out later on this week. But first, let's talk about the glow squid, which now only spawns in the water below y equals 30. That's right, you cannot find glow squids just chilling in the oceans anymore. You have to go into a cave. And honestly, this is great because it's a reminder, it's less of a reminder of the terrible decisions we made as a community. That's right, all of us, not some of us, all of us. And yeah, speaking of things we did terribly, this goat was also voted for by the community. And although the goat isn't too useful just yet, you might still want one anyway, because they'll spawn in the new 1.18 mountain biomes, which is great. But also, Pillager Outposts can generate in those same mountain biomes. And so if you want maybe a place where you can get that horn noise from, then right now you have to use a Pillager Outpost. But still, 2 really cool little changes to the mountain biomes. Obviously, the mountain biomes themselves, very different. Do you want to see some new mountains? Wow, look how beautiful they are. Look at this mountain biome and this mountain. Wow, you know what? No, we're talking about minor features today. Minor features like mobs will only spawn in a light level of 0. Only applies to artificial light, not natural light. And so this means that, as you can see, if we turn this off, then the light level there is 0. This is some this is the state. I forget what it's called actually, but you can break this glass with your hand. It's really nice. Tinted glass is what it's called. And yeah, tinted glass is a really cool block for things like this, by the way. But it's not new in this update, like the new mob spawning mechanics are. Speaking of new mechanics, the Badland biomes will generate in the mountain peaks, which is really, really weird to see. It basically means we have mesa mountains. It's kind of like a unique biome, but it's just actually very high up things. And the mine shafts will still generate in these high up badlands. That is something that is nuts to see, and honestly makes exploring this really fun. Speaking of things that are fun to explore, Amethyst Geodes will now only spawn below y equals 30. So no more ocean geodes. Or only spawn below y equals 30, I should say. And so yeah, this is a big downside to actually finding more of these things. So if you found them before 1.17, before 1.18, your life is now significantly easier. Just like how your life is easier if beaches are your favorite thing, because beaches are a little bit crazier now because they've gotten wider. That's right. Also, water lakes will no longer generate, and also Stony Shaun will now generate in the place of some beaches in any biome, and also may now contain gravel. Wow, cool set of features there, if you ask me. Speaking of cool features, did you know dungeons, which are mob spawners with the chat? You should know this place. Oh, this map was made by Adorable Hoe. I love his commitment to the tiny details. But these places will spawn more often if you're in the deep slate layers, like we are right now. Wow, look, we're surrounded by deep slate. That means you're below Y0, and as you can see, more of these dungeons, which means a lot of very good things for a lot of people. Speaking of good things for good people, mine shafts will now not float in midair, but will either have chains or logs to act as support. Also, cobwebs only spawn next to adjacent blocks. As you can see, this is what an old mineshaft looked like, right? You're going in, you're seeing wood and fences and not too much else, but the new mineshafts look like this. This was going to be a 1.17 feature, but they cut it at the last minute. And so yeah, it's pretty cool to see, in my opinion, the chains coming down from the ceilings, the logs coming up. And yeah, this now means that if you do spawn underground with just a mineshaft of wood, you can finally get your hands on some wood. Wow, there's even a map here. See, the dedication to this. Oh, also, wow, look at that. Did you know they changed the mining levels in 1.18? I bet you did not know that, but now you do. This is what it looks like. Again, impressive. Managing to make this in Minecraft. And as you can see, this means that the optimal level to mine every ore has changed entirely. Finding iron is now very interesting in the ways you do it. Finding diamonds is, of course, going to be done in deep slate instead. The lack of other blocks in here is very, very interesting too. Also, speaking of lack of things, lava springs can only generate in mountains or snowy climates now. You won't just find these randomly in all the biomes. This is a great improvement, I selfishly say, for, you know, like beating Minecraft purposes, because when you're looking for lava to make a Nether portal, you always find one of these and you're like, oh, that's not a thing. But now you know they're only in certain biomes, which is great, just like how it's great. Oh, I punched the sign and it froze Minecraft. That water springs only spawn below Y192. This combined with the removal of water lakes. Assuming you remember the removal of water lakes, wow, would you like me to go back in time to earlier on this video? Also, water lakes will no longer generate. Yeah, water lakes, they're removed. It's great, it's wonderful. Speaking of things that are great and wonderful, strongholds will try to generate fully encased in stone, which is a really, really interesting thing to see. They don't have the kind of like weird caverns. That does technically make being Minecraft a little bit harder. Keep that in mind in future. Obviously, this isn't the case if it spawns surrounded by deep slate, which it will spawn surrounded by instead. We now have deep slate strongholds, which can look pretty interesting. And the reality is beating Minecraft gets a little bit harder as a result. However, being able to find other siders in the chests makes it all worthwhile, in my opinion. Speaking of things that are all worthwhile, the Spore Blossom is now obtainable in survival. What does the Spore Blossom do? Allow me to show you. You pick it up, and then you put it on the ceiling, and then particles come out of it. They stay coming out of where it was for quite some time afterwards. But yeah, as you can see, it's a new block. And it also is pink and yellow. And so decoration, yeah, that's the thing. Speaking of decoration, Vindicators will no longer be present in the Pillager Patrols. In Bedrock Edition, the red boss bar is now red, like on Java. All participants of a raid get the Hero of a Village. So if you're playing, you know, with your friends, you don't have to fight over who gets to finish off the pillagers like you did before. Really cool little change. Did you know the world height has gone from 0 to 255 to minus 64 to 319? I'd argue that isn't a minor feature, so I won't count that towards the list, but if you didn't know that, that is pretty important. And clouds were raised from Y128 to Y192. This is one of those fun features that is on the changelog, but they actually had done already. It was in one of the later 1.17.40. But if you didn't notice it, then we can pretend it's new right now. And again, very few people spotted that that was a new thing, but now you know. And finally, the old world type, from 2011 to 2021 has been removed. It died of being old. I hate to show you this, but as a finisher to the video, it's the only fair thing to do. Let me show you what happens when you try to create an old world. You know, me and my Axolotl, we're gonna be having tears over this one. As you can see, it's super tragic, but there is one fewer world type that exists, and man, does that make me sad. And you know what else is really, really nice but wasn't on the changelog? It's the fact that now your render distance is fully within your control. It used to just give you 4 or 5 presets. You can micromanage your render distance all the way down to 5 chunks if you want to. Same with anti-aliasing. Again, like I feel like giving people more options and saying, yeah, do what you want. If you want to lower your frame rate, you totally can. That is a cool feature for us to have access to. And now you know, speaking of things that you now know, yeah, I feel like the only thing they need to give us now is this GUI scale, because still most platforms just have 0 or 1. Why is it so big? I want a smaller GUI, but the only thing I want more than a smaller GUI is a smaller you and I. Wait, no, a larger you and I. And the way you can take our relationship to the next level, viewer, is by subscribing to this video. I hope that, just like how dungeons are more common below Y0, you'll be more common here on the channel in the future. Okay, I'm done with this. I hope you all enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to smash that bell, because I'll see you all in the next one, unless I yell. Goodbye.